We hereby call this meeting of the Fan Ghouls Club to order. I'm Haley.
I'm Brielle, and this is our very first theory therapy.
You always have to.
We're doing our first official theory therapy episode, and today is all about Stranger Things.
The way that I almost went bum 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 bum, which is Lost.
Close.
Do 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 do. This is super.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween, everybody. We've been really excited about doing one of these. I think it's been building up for like years because we have both been like super fans of Stranger Things since the first season came out in 2016. So now it's, I mean, by the time the last season comes out, it'll have been like 10 years, which is insane.
I know.
We've watched those kids grow up, and
she's a married woman now.
the seasons have just gotten better and better, in my opinion, and I just have a feeling that they're not going to disappoint in the 5th season. Like, we've had these like theory therapy sessions
over
before
on our TikTok.
over on TikTok, mostly about like Akatar and Throne of Glass. Yeah. And we've been wanting to do Stranger Things for a while because this is probably like our shared like favorite thing.
This is like our OG theory therapy. We would just sit down ever and just like.
There's a lot to talk about.
This is 2 years in the making.
This is 2 years and more in the making. You know, we've been building up these theories, and especially after season 4 came out, because we just got so many answers that are still, still left to be closed, but like finding out so much more about the Upside Down, the origins of Vecna and all of that is we're able to try and piece a lot together. Yeah. We were introduced to one of our very favorite characters, like, of all time, Eddie Munson, and we have thoughts.
Lots of thoughts. So we're gonna go through like just a bunch of theories that none of these are gonna be like anything crazy new.
Definitely. Yeah, we can go through some that, like, I wrote down a few like crazy ones that I've read that I'm like, there's no way.
Or just some things in general of like what we think what might happen to them, or just stuff like that.
Big and small.
Yeah.
Because, there's the whole like fantasy world part of it, but then there's also the like romance and the friendships and the family and like all of that stuff that we also have thoughts on. And so that'll be fun. Do you have a fangirl moment of the week?
1 month till Wicked.
Exactly a month until Wicked comes out.
Always my fangirl of the week.
A little less for us because we're seeing it on the 20th of November. At Universal. That'll be really fun. It's going to be all decked out at Universal City Walk.
It better be. I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's going to look amazing. I'm so excited. The Eras Tour is back.
Only for 2 months.
Eras Tour is back in the States, and she opened up in Miami.
She finally came out in a different Reputation jumpsuit.
That was exciting, but no Reputation Taylor's version announcement, which I am very anxiously awaiting.
It'll be a fun surprise.
I know. She's just going to drop it.
I'm hoping for debutation.
Yeah, I think
that'd be so fun.
But time will tell if
I guess so.
These crazy theories regarding like debutation or her next album.
They already want another new album from her.
I know.
I'm tired for her.
No, that's the thing. Is like I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
I'm just here and I'm grateful for whatever you got. Take a break, it's all good. I'm still in my TTPD era, all right? I'm loving it. So
yeah, now that she started back up again, I've been listening to the album all over again.
I know.
On repeat.
I know. It's so good. Definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, it's in my top 3, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think every song is great. Anyway, so yeah, I'm excited that the Eras Tour is back in the States because we can more regularly watch the live feeds and stuff and see what other surprises she might have in store. And if not, that's great too.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I've definitely been fangirling over that all weekend. So to kick us off, do you have one?
I have 3, but like I feel like it's not even I don't know. It's impossible to choose, but
we're going to kick it off by saying what song would bring us back from Vecna's clutches.
Yeah.
A la Running Up That Hill for Max Mayfield. Do you want to go first?
How many do you have?
1.
Oh.
I have 1.
Okay.
Do you want to do your list?
I thought you were like being funny by saying like, sure, you can have honorable mentions. Like you might do
you
them.
Could.
I just figured you might do them too.
Oh, I got 1.
Squawk. I can narrow it down to 2.
Okay, great.
One of them would be Good Night and Go by Ariana Grande.
Oh, that's good.
That shit would bring me back.
I love that. That's amazing.
What would be yours?
Mine is definitely All Too Well, Taylor's version, 10-minute version, live at the Eras Tour. That is the single greatest musical performance I have ever seen in my entire life. But I also considered like, well, I couldn't watch it obviously, but hearing it in my mind, I can see it in its entirety.
And it's nice and long, so that would like save you
exactly
extra. You have extra time.
Yeah, but that's my song. That's my favorite song of all time.
Okay, I'm not surprised. I get it.
I don't know why I did
would
that.
be Would That I by Hosier.
Oh, that's a good one
I
too.
feel like that one would like really.
Yeah, I love that.
I would skip out of the Upside Down.
Come at us, Vecna. Amazing. Okay, great.
I'm not nearly ready enough to do this.
Okay.
I can start off by asking you a quick question.
Okay.
Season 5, the show finally ends. Not who you would want it to be, but do you think it will be Jancy or Stancy? Jonathan and Nancy or Steve and Nancy?
This is really hard for me to say because I do think Jancy is okay. This is also hard for me because I'm fresh off of seasons 1 and 2 right now in my rewatch. I mean, they are clearly more compatible.
Yeah.
The way that they're written in seasons 1 and 2, but this is also before Steve's major kind of character transformation. The way he and Nancy are in season 4 is just so, and granted, like, she loved him in seasons 1 and like end of 1 and beginning of 2. It's just that she had that block
the
of
only thing that
guilt.
That's the thing that drove her away. It's not
was
like
the guilt over Barb.
Yeah.
And he was desperately trying to like help her get over or through it
the way he
and she
knew
wasn't
he could.
Yeah. Steve Harrington is like top 3 all-time favorite television characters of all time, hands down.
Babysitter Steve.
If they can make it so that Steve can find some other happiness, I do think Jancy is good together. I kind of want her to be on her own at the same time.
Oh, maybe she's, you know what, boys?
Yeah, I'm rambling now.
Yeah.
I think right after watching 4, I want it to be Stancy.
I think this is the best love triangle
Yeah.
I have ever, because I see either one working out. I see her going with either one. I could see her not going with either one. I couldn't see, like,
I know.
I want both. I'd be happy for her.
They all need to take time and heal.
maybe none of them make it and we're just theorizing nothing. But, like, this is the greatest, like.
Well, what about Robin and Nancy? Some people ship that as well. A lot of people ship that as well.
No, Robin.
Rancy.
No, Robin. Robin likes what's her face, the redhead.
She's cute, and she's been in a lot of
and she's in next season.
Yeah.
So
okay. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Stancy versus Jancy? Yeah, I think it's the perfect love triangle.
I always thought it would just end up being Jancy. Because that's obviously like they were just a better match in that type of way. But then season 4, like Jonathan just kind of like he wouldn't tell her. Like we left the season off like he wouldn't tell her that he's not going to go to the school, that he's going to stay in California. But I guess it all just really depends on what happens in the show in general. Of like if the Upside Down closes, would the Byers family stay in California or they move back to Hawkins? Or is Hawkins just completely desolate and so they all leave and go somewhere? Like, I think that really has a lot to do with it. I can't imagine them all just like saving the world, some of them living, and then, okay, let's go all to college. Like, I don't know.
It's like, how altered is the world going to be? Especially knowing that there is going to be some sort of time skip. Like,
yes, that's true. Maybe they're already in. Honestly, I see it, the season starting, Jancy's not even together anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're off on different, like if they went back to California. Yeah. I don't see how they would leave though if there's like cracks in Hawkins. Maybe they evacuated the whole.
Their home in California is also sort of not destroyed, but
it's true. It got attacked.
And what's this? This whole thing we'll get into. Owens isn't protecting them anymore, supposedly, and that's how they're even in California. So. Yeah, I don't know. Where are they? Yeah, where are they going to be?
So yeah, I don't know. Jancy, Stancy.
We've seen stills though in the bit of like behind the scenes footage they've shown.
They're in Hawkins.
The 3 of them are together. Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, and Dustin, I think.
They're in Steve's car.
Yeah, they're in Steve's car, so they're all working together. So based off of that, like, I'm sure that'll be a huge, huge part of it.
The best love triangle.
It really is.
The greatest. Because, like, neither of the guys, like, hate each other either. Yeah. Like, happened so cleanly.
Yes.
I really don't know. I could see it at least starting off. I can see the whole season is that like she's not with Jonathan anymore. If there's really is a time jump. They're not going to the same college. Did he not even apply? Or I don't remember.
It's just so hard because like
they're just not they're not on that wavelength anymore. We wanted her with Jonathan because they were connected. They were great communication. They worked well together.
Yeah.
But
they had that, they were like, it was like the detective thing they had going on together. Anyway, you're like, oh, this is a quick question.
Quick question.
Here we go.
I knew this was going to happen. We can't quickly talk about any of this.
But that said, I am glad we got this behind the scenes footage because, right, it would drive me crazy thinking like, what is the state of the world? Like, how affected is Hawkins after the gates open up or whatever?
Does the rest of the world know, or was it like completely like closed off by the government?
Is the community still unaware of what actually is happening?
Yeah.
Because right in the aftermath, at the end of season 4, people just thought it was like a natural disaster.
An earthquake.
Yeah, an earthquake. Which ties into one of my D&D theories.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So this is
switching gears.
This is a little bit
one of the cuckoo ones.
Okay. So I was looking into all of the so we only know for sure that the first episode of season 5 is called The Crawl. I'm actually talking about the leaked rumored titles of the first 6 episodes. Episode 6 being supposedly titled Escape from Kamazat's. And so I did a lot of research into this Kamazat's character. Kamazat's. Which in Maya mythology is translated into bat spirit or death bat.
The real reason why we're here.
The real reason why we're here is I think all of this ties into the fact that we are the biggest Eddie Munson fangirls. And so, yeah, this is just mostly probably going to be about our maybe insane, but maybe absolutely correct Eddie theories. So back to Kamazat's. Escape from Kamazat's. This got me thinking. I read into the actual D&D character, Kamazat's.
Okay.
His stats, his armor class, he's a shape changer. He can summon hordes of bats. He can cause earthquakes. He can innately cast the following spells requiring no material component. Once per day, he can cause an earthquake. Kamazat's. Demon Lord of Bats and Fire. He can also... Do you have anything to say about Kamazat's?
I have lots of things to say about all of it.
Okay.
But you can go on about Kamazat's.
Okay.
I just did bring up episode 6, the title, which means Death Bat.
Right. And we're like, I think our overarching theory is that Eddie is going to essentially be risen by Vecna and turned into some sort of vampiric being and sort of act as Vecna's, and I think this is in D&D lore too. He'll be acting as Vecna's like right hand.
That's the character of Cass.
Yes, I have this too.
So I think everyone's been like
Cass theory
theorizing about Cass because Mike mentions Cass in the first episode of season 4 when they're playing
with Hellfire
with Erica. The same scene that Lucas is playing basketball and they start like battling, and it's like the scene of like him about to win the basketball game and Erica about to win the Hellfire game. And when Eddie first introduces like the villain they're about to fight, he specifically says, I believe he says he's missing his left eye and his left arm. So I wonder if when Vecna comes back in season 5, if he's gonna be like missing an arm or an eye or something.
He is wounded.
Yeah. He was like on fire and fell from the attic. So I wonder that because he mentioned that. So I just wonder if that was or just a thing that they pointed out for the game. But that alluded to the end of the season of when he was saying, you thought he was dead, but he's not. When Mike says, I thought he died. He was killed by Cass. It was just way too specific of them to bring up by name Cass.
Yeah.
Because every other time we've seen the boys play D&D, and they bring out the Demogorgon, they bring out the Mind Flayer, they bring out specific characters, show the pieces, like are talking about what's happening. It's always directly reflected what's happened in the show. So I just feel like them naming Cass is so specific.
Absolutely.
Unless that kind of arc isn't going to be for Eddie, but maybe Cass is going to reflect Will.
Yeah.
Could be the other theory that people have, because he was his minion for an episode, for that season with the mind flare and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe he then betrays Vecna in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, Cass is a huge theory because he gets resurrected into a vampire, and then he is Vecna's right-hand man for years in captivity. And apparently there's going to be a time jump. So, like, is this whole time he's in captivity with Vecna, like serving him in the upside down, and then at the very end he betrays him and ends up being the one that killed him. But yeah, because he's a vampire too, is like what's so. And
obviously we know for sure that he was attacked by bats in the upside down, and I just think they have a bigger, like, that plays a bigger theme in season 4,
because they're the ones
around
that
Eddie
are guarding Vecna.
Yeah.
When he's hunting down all the kids and killing them in season 4, all the bats are the ones that are like guarding the attic, guarding the house. So I feel like that's another thing alluding to like right-hand man. Like they're the ones that are like his main guardians and like protectors.
Yeah. And that, and then we know at the very end, like, there's no body that was brought back to
right side up.
The right side up of the mortal realm or what have you. No body, no real death. I think that should maybe come into play.
Did Dustin just leave his body? Because he was injured too. He was like limping, so he couldn't have carried. He was alone. He couldn't have carried. He had to have left him.
Exactly, but we don't see that immediate aftermath.
Yeah.
So it is left sort of open-ended for this to potentially come into play.
What I think is so cool though too is like the Cass character he fights mainly with a big sword and shield.
Oh yeah.
And in season 4, Eddie and Dustin build their own shields with the trash can lids.
Yeah. Ooh,
but
that's
something
good.
specific is that even after Hopper killed the Demogorgon in the prison, all the way over in Russia, he had that sword.
Yep.
And he killed the Demogorgon with the sword. He just completely beheaded it. But then after it wasn't even like right after the fight, but it was at the very end of like that whole scene, that crazy scene, like they're burning Vecna,
Nancy,
he's fighting the Demogorgon. They like specifically zoom in on the sword laying in the snow on the ground. Maybe it was just a cool shot of like, look at this cool sword that he just killed the Demogorgon with. But like, I feel like, why was there such an emphasis on showing the sword? Like, is that going to come back into play somehow?
Yeah.
Did Hopper bring it back with him, or somehow is it just like, I don't know.
Hopper maybe brought it back with him. Is that the weapon that maybe Mike will take up to reflect, what kind of happens in Will's painting, which we could talk
Mike
about.
Has a sword.
Yeah, he's the knight, the paladin, leading the charge against whatever that creature is.
Yeah. Will's painting is a whole other one.
So the Camazotz stuff too. The other thing I wanted to mention about Camazotz, he can also choose to raise his own pseudo army. He can raise others from the dead as vampires.
So all the other bodies.
That's what I'm wondering. But then he can also grant them their free will. Gift of vampirism. Camazotz may choose to raise those slain through strength loss as vampires. They rise after a certain number of days, permanently dominated by Camazotz until he sees fit to grant them free will. He can have no more than 10 enslaved vampires at any given time. So you can interpret this in a multitude of ways. Right. I'm thinking like, are we going to get more Eddie and Chrissy? Is he going to see Chrissy and want to bring, is that what
snaps him out of it?
Maybe that's the first thing that sort of like snaps him back into his self. And maybe
this one's for you.
Use some sort of power that he's been working on in this time.
Is Vecna strong enough to be able to like give him power, or like
that's what I'm wondering?
Or is it because he died by like the bat? Like are the bats the one that gives him power?
Because does that make him part of this hive mind? Like, is he going to be
that's why he's like
closer to this world than even Vecna is?
Yeah. Ooh.
That's the question. Because I think a bigger thing that people argue about is like, is Vecna the big bad in the end?
He found the hive mind and he's now controlling it.
I think,
which leads into
I think it's maybe could and should be. See through the end with Vecna. His anger will only grow, his power can only grow in whatever time skip this is, even if he's injured. I think that a lot of things allude to another like huge monster that maybe Vecna controls, maybe it is a bigger bad.
With Eddie.
Yeah.
My big thing, especially like when the whole Cass theory first came out, when the last 2 episodes dropped, all of that is the song he plays is Master of Puppets. Yeah. And the line that they specifically play and choose to repeat is obey your master. If he's being controlled by Vecna, he doesn't even have a choice because he's just being puppeteered by him. And guess what tattoos Eddie has? What? He has a swarm of bats on his arm. Oh, I've seen on his other arm, he has like a devilish looking puppet. And then he also has a spider tattoo. And Henry Creel
loves his spiders.
Vecna loves, that was like where his whole weird obsession started with spiders. Like those are the three main tattoos that we can see on Eddie. The puppet one, obey your master, master of puppets.
All signs point to this being true.
If it's not, like, it's like the craziest happenstance I've ever seen. And I also just thought it was interesting in season 4, they call him Eddie the Banished. And he was banished to the Upside Down, and now he has to stay there, and he can't get out.
Yeah. And the lore of Cass, like simply put, is Cass was also bitten by bats and killed. It's just the parallel is crystal clear.
It's way
bitten
too
by
much.
bats and killed, just like Eddie, and then brought back to life by Vecna and served as his right hand. Because this is something tangible that Vecna could use to bait the party.
Maybe that's why he does it.
Exactly.
He wants to bring them back. Maybe because he can't get out yet. He's injured or something.
Yeah.
So he's trying to lure them to the Upside Down. What better way to lure Dustin than with Eddie?
Exactly.
The last big note I have really on Eddie is like the theory of why his name is Eddie. So the scene when Nancy is not possessed by Vecna, but he's showing her the visions of like, here's the future of what's going to happen to Hawk, blah, 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 blah. And Steve, they're trying to wake her up. So they're in Eddie's room trying to find music for her. And that's when Robin's giving him shit like, Blondie, I don't know, we need music. And he holds up an Iron Maiden tape. And he goes, which one of the funniest things ever is Dustin crying to his uncle saying, I've never even seen him get mad. And at the compilations of Eddie continuously getting angry.
So funny. Yes.
But he holds up an Iron Maiden tape. And the Iron Maiden mascot is a zombie named Eddie.
Oh.
That wears a leather jacket. Has long black hair.
Interesting.
So I just thought it was interesting of like, yes, obviously his name is Eddie, but like the zombie part of it, resurrecting.
Yeah.
Back to life.
I'm watching season 2 and my rewatch right now. This is the aftermath of Will being brought back from the Upside Down. And he's sitting in his room with Jonathan and he's drawing and he draws himself as a zombie boy. That just makes me think, like, I don't know, is he seeing the future? Like, is he drawing another version of the future with somebody? He's drawing somebody else. Like, Will is the biggest mystery of this whole thing.
The puppet tattoo that Eddie has.
Well,
the thing that's the like devil that's on it.
What does the Hellfire devil look like?
Oh, maybe it's like a tattoo. Yeah. Oh, it looks identical to that.
Which is also interesting because here's a little baby Erica theory.
Love that girl.
In season 4, when Erica plays with Hellfire, she's the one who rolls to kill Vecna at the end of the game.
Lady Applejack.
Lady Applejack. It'd be interesting to see if that kind of comes into play because there's so much foreshadowing in their D&D games, obviously. But I wonder in this time skip, is Erica going to be leading the Hellfire Club? And will that come into play in this final battle or another battle somehow?
I thought it was interesting that both Sinclairs won their games at the same moment.
Yeah.
She won by rolling a d20. Like Shrek'd it. But I also thought it was interesting in that same game when Dustin rolled right before her, he rolled an 11 and he lost against Vecna. So is that proof that like 11 is not gonna beat Vecna?
We also and we have to consider, like, sounds like there's going to be a lot more with the core 4 original party members.
I hope so.
Me too. And I just wonder, like, what is Elle going to be doing, you know?
I have a lovely Elle theory to talk about that you'll hate and be sad about.
Why?
Eddie, how are we feeling? Anything else about Eddie?
I think Eddie is the one where it's like in our minds is the most crystal clear. Here's what this could look like. I think it's pretty much written out for us.
He was also way too big of a character just to have in one season.
It's one of those things
I guess
where
Bob
like
was the same.
with Steve, they didn't realize how amazing Steve was going to be as a character.
He was supposed to die in
how
season
well
1.
received, yeah, he would be. Maybe it was just simply more perfect luck in the casting department. You know, Eddie was just that beloved. But
I also, like, for their own sake of, like, Joseph Quinn is getting so big now, like,
yeah,
bring him back.
Yeah, I know.
So, yes, basically, if that doesn't happen, I don't think I will ever get over it.
And I don't even, if it's not that, I don't want any of it, to be honest. Like, I don't even want a flashback or, like, don't pity me with that. Go balls to the wall or don't do it.
Like, even if he's in for a little bit, we see him, he is resurrected, and then he dies again, cool. But, like, absolutely nothing will blow my mind.
I know. Right. And, like, okay, so how does this play into the sequence of what will happen in season 5? First order of business is going to be trying to get Max back.
Yes.
Right? Her body is in Hawkins, but her soul
is in Vecna. Because he said something of, like, when he kills them and he does that, he, like, almost absorbs them. So he, like, just didn't get that last kernel of Max. So her body is still kind of alive, but, like, he has her. So Max is going to have to piggyback off of Vecna somehow to find Max inside of him, bring her back somehow. So they're going to have to do this whole maneuver of, like, distracting Vecna so Elle can piggyback off of, like, that. So maybe that's, like, their grand plan of, like, figuring out the distraction and all of that.
It's so interesting what you say about what happens when Vecna, like, absorbs them, but then she survives. We need to talk about Will. How did he survive as a tiny little boy in the Upside Down by hiding?
Vecna didn't know he was there.
But he still...
Or did Vecna keep him around? He wanted a friend. He didn't kill him for a reason.
Things I noted doing the rewatch. Okay, it's in the beginning of season 2, he tells Jonathan, like, he tells somebody that the evil wants to kill everyone except me, which is an interesting line. So yeah, maybe he was purposely left alone in the Upside Down. However, when they find him, they still have to pull the giant ass tentacle out of his body. So, like, I think that means Vecna still may have had some sort of hold on him. Did he take some of his...
Or was that not even really Vecna at all? That was just upside down stuff.
More different upside down stuff.
Like, at that point, was Vecna controlling the Demogorgon and specifically kidnapped Will out of all people to bring him back to the upside down? Like, why didn't the Demogorgon that kidnapped Will kill him and eat him right away?
That makes zero sense because all we know of Demogorgons is that they
are brutal.
They don't have they're mindless and they just devour you. Yeah.
Why did they bring him back? Was it always Vecna's goal? I need to bring, like, a secret agent back. So he, like, kept Will in the Upside Down alive for so long to, like, learn things or maybe slowly infiltrate Will or, like, I don't know.
Does he have more control over Will than we realize? Is this the real Will? Sometimes I question that.
Yeah.
So, like, in the beginning of the crawl, it's like it's darkness. You just hear a child's voice singing a familiar song. Are we going to open season 5 with Will's POV in the Upside Down? Finally.
So, yeah.
Is that gonna unlock
some secrets?
Some secrets.
Is there stuff he's been hiding and, like, hasn't been telling anyone? Or is there stuff, like, he blocked out? Like, all of season 4 is Brenner trying to have Elle remember what happened, and she can't because she blocked it out. Trauma. Did Will do the same thing? Like, he's blocking out what happened in the Upside Down for all of that. How long was he there?
2-3 weeks, maybe. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, maybe a month. Right.
Oh, that's a good point.
The big theme, and also huge themes throughout the series, and specifically season 4, is trauma and lying. So how are those two things? How are those two things confused sometimes to, like, alter the narrative? Will especially actively does some lying in season 2 by telling people he's fine, and that's not necessarily. He's just afraid to tell the truth, I think, and he wants to protect those around him. He's, like, keeping so many secrets, though. Also, flashback to season 1 when Troy, the bully, is like, he died and he's in fairyland now.
There's so many,
There's a lot of
I can't believe I just never,
I know.
I hope he does a giant, like, love confession to Will, and not Will, to Mike. And it's just like a whole dramatic. That's the thing is like all of that fits so well with just the trauma in general of keeping things in.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to tell the truth to people about who he really is.
Yep.
So he's like hiding so much.
And I think how does that play in with like Vecna feeding off of the trauma?
That's what he does.
How is he right, he does. How is he using Will? Is he keeping tabs on him? Is he going to try and lure him in and use him?
Has he been waiting this whole time to like snap a trigger in Will's mind and then he can flip him in a second? And that's why I'm like, is he the Cass? Will he become the
connections with Will defeating the Thessal Hydra with the fireballs that he draws in season 1, but they're green. And Joyce is like, oh, we need to get you some new crayons. Those look like cabbages. But in fact, that could also be construed as Wildfire. Will the Wise or Wildfire Will?
Whoa.
Will, I'm just interested to see like what happens with. I feel like we know everyone else pretty well at this point.
Like, what is with him still touching the back of his neck? Like, we know what it is, but like, what is it? Why?
I just think Hopper pulled that thing out of his mouth for like a long time. Like, he wasn't just hiding. Like, he was essentially taken or possessed by something.
Yeah. There's nothing greater than watching Stranger Things with captions on.
The squelching.
Just squelching. Yeah. And just like the sound effects and the noises is my favorite thing.
It's so good.
Yeah, Will is and so then jumping into season 4, Will, this painting is like obviously so huge because that jumps over to young Henry Creel /1/Vecna when he's young, and we see those flashbacks while Victor Creel is talking. Henry was always alone and awkward and quiet and shy and drawing. And what was he drawing? Like spiders and things in his imagination and like things that ended up kind of coming true. So was Will also drawing these things, like you said of him, like with the fireballs
like all
and stuff?
Foreshadowing,
Is Will connected to Henry in that way of like the drawing and the awkward? Like, did Vecna kidnap Will for a reason? Because it reminds him of him. And like,
maybe because
the drawing is so specific. Joyce has made so many points of like, yeah, but these kids can't draw as good as my son. And like, it's just.
And Vecna's the one who kidnapped him. I'm convinced of that.
We're convinced.
Demogorgon didn't kidnap Will.
We see a Demogorgon in that shot of season 1 before Will gets taken.
Okay, maybe, but we could have been controlled by the hive mind to take him. But it's not just a Demogorgon, like picking him up and running away.
Oh, I've seen a video on this. I can't remember right now if they were lying or not. Just for like views or something. In season 1, the shot in the first episode when Will gets taken, do you hear the clock in the background? Is that true or not? Or did someone like edit that in?
I definitely
heard it.
This came out. I'm sorry. It helps me remember. No, I remember seeing this and immediately watching and
it's there. So then Vecna's been in control this whole time.
Yeah.
The grandfather clock.
Because remember, we also looked into it.
This is also
because you can hear it with Billy in season 2 as well.
When he's in the upside down.
In the shot where all the
other Billies.
The other Billies are coming. Yeah.
That's the one thing that's also very interesting. He's the only one that's ever seen other ones of himself, which I always thought was weird. Was it just Vecna trying to mess with his mind?
But also, so maybe a Demogorgon's always lurking, but like Barb wasn't eaten. Like, say, just like kind of ripped apart. Those was also Demodogs. I don't know.
Maybe we just didn't see it because the last shot we see of Barb is her trying to climb out of the pool and then she gets dragged down.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. She could have gotten tricked.
But then we see her. Don't we see her in the upside down? Because she's pinned up against the pool, right? And she's like in a vegetative. I mean, she's like part of the pool. Like,
so can Demogorgons just like open and close their own portals? Season 1, when Nancy's the first one to go into the upside down, besides Will.
Hopper. Well, Hopper goes in through the lab.
Remember, Nancy and Jonathan are in the woods?
I think Hopper does go.
They're already in there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hopper had gone in, but it was through the lab. Didn't really count. Nancy's the first one who found.
Where did that portal come from? Who opened that one?
Well, it had to have been Vecna.
The one that's like in the tree. Do you know what I'm talking about? That she crawls
I know
through?
what you're talking about.
Where did that portal come from? Because so far all we know is that Elle can open and close it.
But then so can Vecna.
By killing teenagers in season 4. Where did that one come from? I never thought of that.
That's not how Elle.
She came back through the gate.
Gates.
It was in the school.
Oh yes, I know that. But when she first escapes, when she creates the big gate that Vecna is sent through, or Henry, and then becomes Vecna. She obviously escapes from the lab. Is that where she emerges and then shows up at the diner or whatever?
Benny's.
Yeah.
She crawls out of that thing that one shows her.
That's how she leaves the lab, and then she emerges in the woods.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have to go through the upside down. I guess she would have just escaped like a normal way. So maybe the Demogorgons can just...
Weird. I've never thought of this before. Oh, the Demogorgon who make portals, they just don't last long.
Okay. So that's why they're like...
As we can tell from the tree portal closing and Joyce's wall becoming normal again.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Temporary portals. That makes sense because Elle does... When she
the
does
mother gate was unintentionally opened by Elle. I think that opened up a connection somehow that the Demogorgons can then
recognize and use. That makes sense because it's already closing at the beginning of season 2 when Elle, she's in the upside down, and then she has to make it bigger because it's already like closing up.
That's true.
That's
because
how she gets through.
Yeah, in season 1 it appears out of nowhere multiple times.
Yeah.
Like in the walls. And
they're all over the house, right, in season 1. The one that attacks Nancy and Jonathan and Steve comes through the ceiling. You know, they're everywhere.
Yeah,
okay.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Barb's death implied that whatever the slug does didn't take, so the Mind Flayer reached out to find Will instead. Maybe it needed a younger host, and Barb just simply died while the Demogorgon was attempting to infect her.
Oh, God. Poor Barb. Justice for Barb.
Interesting. So, like, a theory just thought of that, like, maybe the whole time the goal was Vecna sending these Demogorgons over to try and find a host.
Yeah.
To infiltrate. So maybe the first attempt was like, I don't know, let's try this chick, and then she just didn't work. Maybe. Or the Demogorgon just like killed her. I don't know.
That's terrible. But like also maybe she can still be brought back.
Maybe. If she's still in that wall thing. Because that's true. I think she was in the same wall Will was that had the thing down her throat. So they like tried.
And isn't that not, and I know they're in Vecna's lair, not just the upside down, but I'm also thinking about like Chrissy and...
They were like in his house. Chrissy and Fred.
It's just a similar looking experience. Because we see Will in that state and then he's brought back.
And then he spits out the slug, which is Dart in the next season.
Dart.
Little Dart. I love how he gives them the nougat and he lets them pass. He's like, thanks.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Amazing.
We've talked about the first episode being named The Crawl a couple times.
The Crawl.
And I just think that's hilarious because I'm just scared to imagine The Crawl is just like, we're seeing Demogorgons and bats and monsters like crawling out of the cracks into Hawkins. Like, what's gonna crawl? Like, what is crawling? The crawl? They crawling out of those cracks and like...
Is that what the time skip is? Is them somehow having contained it? The one, like, kind of, it's not a crazy theory. It's just a general question of birthday gate. How everyone, for whatever reason, forgot Will's birthday. Remember that whole thing?
When did they forget his birthday?
I think there was a specific date in an episode that was Will's birthday, but nothing is said at all about Will's birthday. And people were freaking out online because it appeared as though the Duffers forgot that date was Will's birthday.
Oh.
And so it was this whole like continuity thing of like, what the hell? Like, this is Will's birthday, da 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 da. But now people are speculating like, what if that's purposeful and it's actually something that Vecna is using against Will to break him down, people forgetting his birthday, this and that, to bring Will closer to him. Pied Piper situation.
An added trauma, yeah.
And this maybe plays into the fact that Vecna sees himself in, or Henry sees himself in Will. And somehow that there's a bond that's formed. For a time, at least.
All because of his birthday. Yeah.
What happened to him in the upset? I want to know. He was in there a hell of a lot longer
than anyone.
Than everybody else. An 11-year-old boy. I really, really, really hope the beginning of The Crawl is just straight into that POV.
There's a picture of Noah, like, laying in Castle Byers in that tent next to, like, a doll that they made that looks like young Will. Right? You haven't seen this?
Freaky.
It's like a flashback scene.
Maybe that's the beginning. Is that what he wears? Yeah.
Oh, it's not a doll. It's like literally a little kid. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, there's stuff up with him.
And then in the end of it, we still have to deal with his relationship with Mike as well. The only thing I could think of is if he does like turn or something.
Yeah.
but then he comes back with his fireball.
My fireball. He just has fire powers now.
The fireball is interesting. It is really, though, because, the components of a fireball are sulfur and bat excrement.
Excrement?
In D&D lore. So, like, Will goes back to the Upside Down with Vecna. Eddie's there. He's like, you're going to be working with Eddie. Then Eddie and Will are like, oh, wait, we're connected to, like, our friends. We're good. We have to save them all. They save Chrissy. They save Barb. They save everybody down there.
Interesting.
Well, I have a lot of stuff on the Fessel Hydra. And Karen.
Yeah.
And the Talisman.
What is the Talisman?
It's the book that Lucas is reading Max at the end of season 4.
Ooh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting.
Really?
Yes. The story of the Talisman is this, like, 12-year-old boy who wants to save his mom from dying of cancer. And so he hears from this older guy about the Talisman, which is this magical, like, crystal that I think is assumed is a cure-all, I guess. But you have to go to this place called the Territories to find it. The Territories is this, like, kind of like a parallel universe, a la the Upside Down. The interesting thing about the Territories is, in the Territories, you have what's called twinners. And a person in the regular world has a twinner in the Territories. So it's like an alternate you in this alternate universe. And the alternate you goes through the same life experiences, traumas is mentioned. My little quick thought is, like, but Lucas reading the Talisman to Max, is he somehow feeding her information or ideas in how to survive where she's at? That was my only quick thought. However, I also know that I guess the Duffers are developing, like, a movie or series of the Talisman. So it could have just been like a
little hint,
little drop. But I just thought, like, the story is just very similar.
Another dimension.
In ways, like, with the other dimensions and stuff. The Twinners thing was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should come out with, like, more plot theories. And we should, I don't know, like, we could also do some superlatives type stuff. Like, just talk about individual characters in general.
Yeah. This episode of the Fan Ghouls Club Theory Therapy is adjourned. We don't have our book this time.
I know.
That felt weird. Happy Halloween.
Yay!